Hello, I'm Mo Jones, and I'm a professional comedian. I found I was funny at a young age. I used to tell jokes, and I used to listen to Richard Pryor and and stuff that you're not supposed to. I used to try to get out of whoopings by telling something funny, but most of the time, my mother was strict. I've got one of the real mothers that she would whoop you with anything she had in her hand. But I love my mother, I miss her. And my journey is really crazy because growing up, I'm one of four kids, and me being a jokester as a kid at a young age, I used to get beat up. It was four kids growing up with me. I'm the second oldest. It was my sister, myself, my two brothers, and my sister used to beat us up all the time, and I used to tell jokes so I can see if she could stop beating me up. Some of the jokes I used to try to tell my sister is to signify monkey, and I knew that at a young age. I learned that because she wasn't supposed to listen to that stuff, but I did. And I used to do the signify monkey, and she would laugh, and that was the only thing that pretty much kept her from beating me up 90% of the time. Man, I learned the signify monkey. I remember telling that joke to my sister. And if y'all don't know what signify monkey is Dolomite. Way down in the jungle, there's 4,000 feet, there was a coconut tree. Swinging from the branch of the sun is a bad mother called JoJo Gunn. Now, JoJo's a bad mother. If you ever saw one, one day JoJo the coconut. See, I can't remember all of them. I'm getting old now, so that's some of the jokes I used to tell my sister. I gotta watch what I'm saying because I'm in the house. My wife might beat me up. So I don't cuss in my house. And I'm the man of the house. She the boss, but I'm the man. Way down in the jungle, about 4,000 feet, there was a coconut tree. Swinging from the branch in the sun, it was a bad mother called JoJo Gunn. Now, JoJo was a bad mother if you ever saw one. One day, JoJo's on a coconut tree jacking off. He said, ain't got nowhere to go. I'm going to get the whole goddamn jungle up the road. Just then, the lion walked past, one by the calm of his ass. JoJo said, I wonder what that mother think about me. JoJo Gunn walked up to the lion and said, Mr. Lion, Mr. Lion, Mr. Lion, if you let me get my nuts off this grass, I guarantee you, I'll whoop your Said, your daddy was a bastard, your mom was a hoe. Could he put what for show? He said, you talked about your mom and your daddy so bad, when you talked about your sister, it even made me mad. When I was young, me and my brother used to always go on my mom and dad's records, and I found Dolomite in there, on a big old LP, and we used to listen to Dolomite when my mom and dad was gone. So we used to turn on Dolomite and listen to Richard Pryor, and man, I was like, wow, one day I'm gonna be able to do that. I'm gonna cuss. And when I got old enough to start cussing, then I started cussing. I started acting. I thought I was Rudy Ray Moore growing up because I used to mimic him to the T. Man, I remember one time when I was in school and I was doing Rudy Ray Moore in my science class, Mr. Cleveland, and he called my mother, and she came up to the school and she told my tail up in the class. One thing I wanted to do in school is tell jokes and keep people laughing all the time. I thought it would be cool with the ladies. I was different. I am an athlete. I was an athlete. I'm an old man now, but I used to tell jokes on a baseball field. I love to play baseball and try to get to the ladies. I thought I tried to be a ladies' man, but when you're young, you know you're a ladies' man. And I realized back then I'm kind of funny. And I just took it upon myself to keep practicing. And then one day I said, hey, I'm gonna do it at the talent show. But then I ended up dancing, so that didn't work. So at the talent show, me and my buddy Alonzo, we did this dance routine, and I felt like, hey, I could dance too. So I started dancing, and then I became a professional dancer. I danced for MC Hammer and a Too Big MC. It was that point where, as out there when I was dancing, I found out I was funny, because when you're on the road with Hammer and being in different cities, you gotta learn how to cap. And I was king of the caps, trust me. I wouldn't let nobody outdo me. So what I would do, I would go and just think of crazy stuff or say crazy stuff and just cap on you. And I was one of the king of the mama jokes. I know my man George Wallace is the king of the mama jokes, but I had a few of my day too. I started touring when I was about 19 years old. I remember going out and auditioning for Hammer, and out of all these people, he chose me. And going out on the road at 19 years old and try to make some money dancing, it's experience. But while I was out there, I continued trying to be funny. And as I was being funny, I got, a lot better at it. And long story short, Hammer didn't do too well after a while. Things started happening. So I had to find my funny bone. And then what I did was I started telling jokes to my mother and father and to my brothers, and anybody would listen to me, I would tell them, I'll keep them laughing. I was the life of the party. So I decided one day, my mom told me, you know what, boy? You should be a comedian. I started my comedy career in 2001, right after the 9/11 tragedy. The tragedy of 9/11 really affected all of us, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people that lost their lives, and it hit kind of close home with me because one of the church members that go to my church, her sister was one of the ones that died in that tragedy. During that time when that tragedy struck, I tried to keep people away from thinking about all that tragedy stuff that happened. That's like my comedy. My comedy is sneak attack. It just sneak up on you. So I did not talk about anything that was 9/11 related when that time came. I stayed away from that. And I tried to keep myself and my mind focused on trying to make people laugh, because during that tragic times, people's minds were elsewhere other than their normal days and what they focus on every day. So I started putting a little routine together, and my brother, Lavelle, he's a pastor, and he lived in Fresno at the time, and he hooked me up with this gentleman he's a comedian, his name is Feather DeWise. And most comedians, when you first start doing comedy, you go in little clubs and you do like 5 or 6 people might be in there, 20 at the most. I did a place in Fresno called the Tower Theater, and there was like 1,000 people in there. And me trying to be a comic for the first time, the first 2 guys that went ahead of me, they bombed. When I say bombed, they didn't do well. Instead of having butterflies, I had hawks in my stomach. And he told me, give me 7 hot minutes. And 12 minutes later, I got a standing ovation. And I was like, oh, I might be good at this. But reality struck, because when I went back home to Oakland, and I went to a place called the End Zone, it was 7 people in there, and I brought 5, and none of them laughed. So, as a comedian, professional comedian, you have your good days, you have your bad days. You have to always just stay humbled and keep going no matter what, because you're not going to make everybody laugh. And it's been a few times early in my career where I just wrote some down, and I knew it was going to destroy the place. I knew it was funny because I said, I laugh. And I told the closest friends, and they laughed. I said, I'm going to do this on stage. And when you think you do your best joke and don't nobody laugh at it, you feel like you just died 1,000 deaths on that stage. And you lonely, because guess what? You're the only one up there, and all these people have sitting there watching you, and you have to make these people laugh. So what I learned to do is, as a comedian, you take people on journeys. So my comedy now is a journey. I'm at the point now, it took me a while. I used to write down all my jokes, and I would go and I would do the jokes, and I would get better and better at it because I would add a little bit on each time that I would do my comedy. I would add a little bit on. So the big video camera, I had to learn that. I had somebody record me, and you could, as a comedian, when you listen to yourself, you think of stuff and you add on, and that's how you build. And nowadays, I don't write any material. I think of stuff, and it just comes out. It took me a long time to get there. I think I wrote like 90% of my jokes, but if anybody say something to you while you're on stage and you have to remember where you left off and you don't remember it, you lose the audience and you mess up a joke. So my thing is, I go off the head, I go off the cuff. We call it improvisation. So you get out there and you do whatever comes to your mind. Most comedians nowadays, some of the greats, they don't write material down. They think of things. They might write a subject down. I'll write a subject down, or I'll tell my wife, or I'll tell somebody, hey, write that down, write that down. And I'll go back to it and I'll make a joke about it. Back then, the culture of the comedy game has changed a lot. Back in the day, in the Bay Area, you really couldn't get on too many stages back then. Like in San Francisco was the Punchline and Cobb's Comedy Club. You couldn't just go on there and just decide you're going to get on stage. I used to literally have to drive to LA at least 2 times, 3 times a week and try to get on 4 or 5 stages during that night, turn around and drive right back home. A lot of people ask a lot of questions about your journey when you're doing comedy as a comedian. And you think of all the things, what's the ups and downs, what's the challenges? The challenges I have, most people say, how do you deal with hecklers? I welcome all hecklers. I'm a clown and I have a mic and I will clown you really bad if you say something to me or you try to interrupt me. I don't play that game, and I am the king of the caps. Trust and believe, y'all. I'm the king of the caps. And people start to take these hecklers are starting to really do crazy stuff. We have Dave Chappelle, and then Chris Rock. Chris Rock got slapped and by Will Smith, and I'm like, wow. And he's a comedian. Dave Chappelle just recently, the guy ran on stage and tackled him. So that's a challenge, and I just want to let anybody know that you looking at this, if you run up on a stage and me, you better try Jesus, because I throw hands. I don't play. You run up on the stage, I'm gonna hurt your feelings and keep telling jokes. To me, hecklers are one or two things. One, they offended or something that you said and it touched home, or some of them just want to be seen. So a lot of people get drunk when they start drinking that devil juice and get all intoxicated and going crazy and get belligerent, then they want to be seen. So they'll get loud, they'll say obnoxious stuff to you, and they just want to be seen. But sometimes you may say something that offends someone. But you guys understand that comedy is a journey. And 99% of the time, it's something that happened to us that, we tell it. We'll tell all something that's bad happened or tragic in your life, and you bring it on stage and you talk about it. And when you start talking about it, our pain is your funny. Wow. Tragic stuff in my life that's happened, and I try to make it funny, is that, I lost my father, and I made a joke about it because just like everybody out in the world have tragedy goes in their lives, us comedians, we tell our pain and make you guys laugh about our pain. I remember telling the joke about my father and how the pastor was telling the story with the Bible in his hand, talking about Deacon Jones was a good man. He loved his wife. He took care of his kids. My mama elbowed me and said, go see if that's your daddy laying in that casket. So, I take my tragedy and turn it into funny. Every time I get on the mic, I tell something about something in my past that hurt, that's gonna make y'all laugh. There's a lot of tragic things that's happened over the years, and man, for my mother passing away, and I missed one show, and the next night I performed, and everybody like, what the hell are you doing? And I did it because I did it for my mother. So just different things. Well, I understand what you want to ask. These tragic times, my comedy will help you forget about your problems for the moment. So I live in the moment. One of the times I think I was in Detroit, and a heckler kept messing with me, and we was going back and forth, and I talked about the person for about 20 minutes, and afterwards he decided that he wanted to fight, And I'm like, dude, I ain't got time for no foolishness. And I just don't understand why, if you come to comedy shows, you come to laugh. So if anything, if you become part of this show, so be it. But don't decide that you want to get mad on something that we say as a professional comedian, because we're a comedian. We're here to tell jokes. We're here to tell stories. We're here to take you on a journey. And again, comedy is a journey. And a lot of this stuff is not jokes. These is real life tragedies that happen in our lives. I know a lot of times people have challenges and, say if this right for me, young comedians comes to me and ask me all the time, hey, am I funny? Am I funny? And I tell them all the time, you have to eat, drink, sleep, live comedy to be a comedian. You have to go to open mics. I'm fortunate that I didn't have to do a whole bunch of open mics when I was a young comedian. Comedian Earthquake, shout out to my man, Comedian Earthquake. He saw me at a local club, and I did a show for him with him. And then he came back to the city. He asked for me. I ended up going there and I performed again, and he took me on the road, where most comedians had to go from place to place to place to place just to get airtime, mic time. I didn't have to do it. I got thrust right into it. So I didn't have a choice. I had to be funny or he's going to kick me off the road. And I didn't want to go off the road. I want to stay on the road, being able to go from city to city to city to city, doing comedy, doing what I love to do and getting paid for it. It was fun. When I first started out with Earthquake, I had to pay for my own airplane tickets as a young comedian. And as a young comedian, where this man is making thousands of dollars and you only making $300 or $400 in the weekend doing 6 shows, and you have a family. That's kind of a hard pill to swallow. And then they give all the accommodations to professional comedians, where they give you hotels and stuff like that. I remember I used to sleep in the green rooms at the comedy club, upstairs in the comedy rooms, where I didn't get a room. I wasn't known and I didn't deserve it. Earthquake gave me a hard lesson. So you have to earn that right. And once you earn that right, you take it and you run with it. So I learned that from him as a young comedian. And while I evolved, and Earthquake ended up increasing my money, and he kicked one of the people, the host, off the stage, to where he, instead of having a 3-man show, it became a 2-man show, where I was the host and the feature act, and he was the headliner. So many years we didn't use a host. I was the host and the feature. A host is the person that gets everybody together and gets the crowd going, warming the crowd up. The feature act, you go and do 25, 30 minutes, and you just getting the crowd even more prepared for the headliner. And the headliner will come in and do an hour. Well, once I became, we got rid of okay, I slowed down. I almost forgot what it was. Okay. Once we got rid of the host and I became the host / feature, I would do 45 minutes and Quake would come and he'll do an hour and a half. So we rolled with that for a long, long time. And as time went on, I got the hotel rooms. I did get to not have to sleep into the comedy clubs, because, it's kind of a eye-opener when you have to sleep in a comedy club that you just performed at. But that's just the testament of a young comedian. After I got more money and I got hotel rooms, and then they paid for my airplane ticket. So the journey is real, and I've been through hell and high water to get to this point. So I take no prisoners when it comes to me and my craft.
During my short time as a comedian, I looked up to a lot of people, and I ended up meeting comedian Earthquake, and I met him at Tommy T's, and he came down and I opened for him, and we hit it off really good. And I talked to his manager at the time, Dave, who's my manager now. We talked, and Earthquake went away and he came back, and when he came back, Dave told me that Earthquake liked me and that he wanted to take me on the road. So fast forward, I went on the road with Earthquake, and wow, it was during that time when I first started working with Earthquake, I got a chance to meet the Samores. I got to meet D.L. Hughley, Cheryl Underwood, George Wallace, and the list goes on and on. And a lot of times when I got a chance to meet with these people, we got a chance to talk in the green room. And the green room was, back in the day, was where all the comics got together before they went out on stage. And while we was back there talking, cracking jokes, talking about life, talking about kids, it was some sidebar stuff going where some comics didn't like other comics and they didn't want to work with the comics. So sometimes some people got bumped off the show and did not know they was getting bumped until it was their time, where they thought it was their time to go up.
I got a chance to meet some of the comedy greats. I got to meet Red Fox. I got to meet Bernie Mac. I got to meet Richard Pryor, Cat Williams, Bruce. The list goes on. Dave Chappelle, Cedric the Entertainer. Just the list goes on and on. I met so many people on this journey called comedy, and it's a gift and a curse, because the gift of being able to tell jokes and make people laugh for a living is one thing. The curse is no one ever takes you serious. My wife don't take me serious. When I asked my wife to marry me, she laughed. I wasn't telling a joke. I was serious. So that's the gifts of it and the curses of being a comedian. And it was at the Comedy Store in LA, and I got a chance to meet him. It's weird when you grow up watching someone on TV and knowing that he does the same thing you do, that inspires you. So it inspired me. One of the great conversations that I had with him was, he watched my set and he told me, "You did great, and keep going and don't give up and don't listen to none of these MFs that say that's gonna talk bad about you." He said, because they're gonna talk bad about you. As you grow, your haters gonna grow. So one of the other greats that I met was Eddie Murphy. And again, he was at the Comedy Store in LA. One of the things that Eddie Murphy told me was stay true to yourself, stay writing, stay thinking, think outside the box. And one of the questions I asked Eddie Murphy was, "Hey man, why don't you do stand-up no more?" Because he said, "I'm a superstar." Okay, I didn't understand that at the moment, but he explained it to me, is this: you're a superstar. My name is a household name. And the fear of failure, once they announce your name, hey, it's Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy had to come out, Eddie Murphy had to be funny. Well, Eddie Murphy paved the way for people like myself, that he has opened up so many doors that his stardom, his star shines so bright. You have to understand that being a superstar, he's not a comedian, he's a superstar. He's an entertainer. And to be able to follow in your own footsteps, that could be a little bit creepy. The Green Rooms, that's where the best comedy show is. So the best comedy shows ever is always with all the comedians getting together in the green room. Oh man, if some of you guys can go in the green room prior to the show, that's where some of the best comedy come out. We start talking about any and everything, and we have our own personal comedy show in there. Because guess what? As comedians, we're fans as well as comedians. And I like going to watch Mike Epps. I like watching Cedric the Entertainer. These are people I look up to, and being able to have a conversation with them and knowing that they know me if I talk to them is weird, but it's true.
Man, back then, when I think about it now, I think about all the comics in the green rooms, and we talked about a lot of serious things about life. We talked about families, and we told a lot of jokes. And some of the best comedy was in the green room before it hit the stage. And they bumped comics off of stages. They decided they didn't want this comic to do with this comic, and this comic didn't want to work with this comic. And it's like, wow, man. And as a young comedian, I was sitting there just going, I can't believe this type of conversation is actually even happening. And while backstage, where we was talking about just life and everything, and when some of the comics found out that they wasn't on the show, that they drove down or they flew down and they couldn't work it, it was a lot of fist fights. And I want to tell you, I've seen some comics that fought, and you will be, you were literally not understand what I'm saying, but there's a lot of comics that fought. And not only they didn't fight each other, we fought promoters, because a lot of the promoters back then, everybody got paid in cash. And a lot of times we go up and perform, and some of these bootleg promoters, they didn't have your money. So it was a lot of fights. Trust me, it was a lot of fights. And sad to say, a lot of promoters will set you up to whereas after they pay you your money, because they know they gave you cash, they have their homies and they'll come and they'll jack you up and they'll take your money. And that is 2 times in my comedy career that has happened to me. And one of the comedy guys was beat up so bad he was in a coma for like 4 to 6 months.
So one of the craziest things that happened to me while I was on stage and I'm doing it, it was a young lady sitting in front of me, and she didn't have no underwear on, and she, you know, showed me her business, and I told her, you better close your legs before you get chapped lip. And to me, that was one of the funniest highlights that I could say, that this woman sitting up in front with no underwear on. And I'm like, you trying to entice me to do something? And afterwards, she came up to me and said something. And she goes, I want to take you home. I said, my wife is right there. She said, hell, I'm going to take her with us. Oh, Jesus. That is crazy. One of the things I want to let each and everybody know, I let myself know first. I may not get as big as the Kevin Harts and the Eddie Murphys and the Martin Lawrences, but my star still shines within me. It burns within me. I'm doing really, really well in this comedy game, and my star stature is growing. I'm 54 years old now, so you know, life expectancy of a comedy career goes to you can't do it no more. So I know within myself, if I never make it as big as them, I'm still having fun going worldwide, being able to tell my journey to the people that's out there, and I still get paid to tell my journey, my stupidity in my own heart. I get paid to tell you guys about it. So I don't envy no one. I have big brothers, and this is a brotherhood and a sisterhood, because let me just stop right there. You got to give up some props to the women. I know I mentioned a lot of men, but you got the Samores, the Adele Gibbons, go way back, Moms Mabley, what's her name? Esther. I can't remember her real name. Please forgive me. May you rest in peace. But it's a lot of great women. Now look at Tiffany Haddish. Her trajectory is her ceiling is so high right now, because guess what? Women are funny too. And we got to give a woman the props. And I want to start and just say, hey, to all these women that's out there, there's comedians that's bad. And a lot of times women don't get to just do that men do, because this is a man's world. So women have to work twice as hard to get the notoriety, where men get it a lot easier, and that's the truth. You know, in this comedy game, we enjoy it to the fullest, but when you lose some of the greats like Robin Harris, my big brother, Bernie Mac, I look up to that man. That man is a tragic loss. That hit close home to me, because Bernie Mac is one of the funniest men that you can ever be around. And I wish I could have been part of that Kings of Comedy tour, just to go back and be a fan, to watch that. But when Bernie Mac passed away, that touched me, because Bernie was on the peak, and his star was shining so bright, and tragically he passed away. And that's unfortunate, because guess what? Like the greats of Robin Harris and Richard Pryor that passed away, Red Fox, and these are talents that you can never ever be duplicated. A lot of people try to duplicate stuff like that, but these are certain type of individuals. It's only once in a lifetime. One of the greats that I feel that needs an unsung, and his story hasn't been told, but he's still living out his story, is comedian Earthquake. Earthquake he's a genius. When I say a genius, he's very, very detailed, and he's very intelligent. You may not see it because, we goofballs, but being on the road with him, being able to have a personal conversation, sitting in the car, rental cars, going to the hotels, and just sitting there after the show, just in the course of a day, and really picking Earthquake's brain. That man is deep, and I hope and pray that he get all his roses while he yet still lives. Some of the promoters that we deal with, all of them, just watch out. They all ain't good. But one promoter, he created Def Comedy Jam and BET Comedy View, is Bob Sumner. He is one of the great promoters of our time. He behind the scenes 99% of the time, but if you a comedian in this game and you really understand what promoters do, everybody would say Bob Sumner. He is one of the greatest of all times, and I want to give him accolades as well, because he's great. But a lot of these promoters that's self-promoting and thinking they're that, you got to watch out for some promoters, because some promoters will give you "I have a dream" speech, and you go out there, and it's happened to me, you go out there, do your show, and they tell you they don't have the money. One of the other greats that I can give a testament to is the late, great Paul Mooney. Paul Mooney is one of the most controversial comedians known to man to this day. And a lot of people didn't know he wrote like 99% of Richard Pryor's jokes. And he was a writer, and he did some off-the-cuff stuff, and he did mind calling people or whatever he thought of, it came out, and he would tell you, and he would cuss you out. And he was a good friend. I got a chance to meet him a few times and got a chance to talk to you, and he used to go, "Boy, I'm gonna tell you, you're funnier than an MF. And boy, I don't care, I don't give a damn what nobody say. You go ahead and you do your thing, N-word." A lot of people ask me about my laugh. I have a weird laugh, and I had to get my laugh patent and trademark, because guess what? My laugh is infectious. And people do my laugh. I have some videos of people just walking up and doing my laugh. So when I laugh and I bellow out, my laugh is weird. It's so that is my laugh. When I was growing up, I was embarrassed to laugh really, really loud, because I thought it was just, to me, I was scared to do it because I felt maybe it's going to be somebody thinking it'd be obnoxious or whatever the case may be. But my laugh is my signature trademark. If you ask anybody about comedian Mo Jones, what's one of the great things other than being funny, they'll tell you it's my laugh. One of the things I think about is the industry, how when I first started 20 years ago, and how you used to have to be really, really funny to go on the road, to where this new millennial industry that's now if you're popular on your social media, there's only a few social media comedians that's actually funny. Shout out to Country Wayne, because he made it work for him. And The sad part about it is when we used to barnstorm, we used to go to city. I used to literally drive from Oakland to LA 3 times a week just to get some stage time. And I used to go around and turn around and come back and go to work the next day. I did that for years. I had a little Honda Accord, 2-door. And I used to drive that thing. I think I had about 17 million miles on that thing. Industry now has changed. It's not the old method of doing things by being funny, and you're funny, your brand, and you grow your brand. If you social media, if you have 50 to 60 or 100, Lord forbid if you had 1 million followers, now the people, these big places are booking people because they have millions of followers. I'm from the old school. My funny works for me, and it's ever changing. So my challenge is now for me to get on my social media platforms and build my brand through social media. But if you're a seasoned comic like myself and have to go live on your social media, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a comedian, I want to tell jokes. I don't want to be going there, and no disrespect to these young comedians that's out there doing it that way, bravo. But for me, my signature brand is you see something, you make it funny. Any up-and-coming comedians, hey, keep writing, keep being funny. If you gotta go in front of your family, get in front of a mirror and work your material as best as you can. One of the things I can tell you, your facial expression, it speaks volumes into your comedy. People don't realize that, but if you see something funny to you, or you go, ooh, or you make a face, that makes people laugh. And comedy is soothing to the soul. When I think about this Will Smith and Chris Rock thing, I applaud Chris Rock because he did retaliate. And again, he's not from Oakland. It'd been me, I'd have jumped on that fool back, I'd have bit him, I'd have did something. But that slap equated to extras of millions of dollars in Chris Rock's pocket because he did not respond. It's sad when you get two African American people, and first of all, let me just say, the joke was not even a bad joke. When you talk about G.I. Jane, if you guys seen that movie is a woman kicking all dudes' butt. And Chris Rock didn't even write that joke. It was a monologue that he read it and he just made it funny. And for Will Smith to get upset with that, well, as a comedian now, I'm like, man, you didn't get mad at your son's best friend for sleeping with your wife, but you would get mad at him for telling a joke. Why? So there's some deep-rooted issues there. But bravo to Chris Rock. You have made your point known that your ticket sales have went through the roof, all over a slap, and didn't respond. Social media platform and these skits that people do doesn't necessarily translate into being funny on stage, because guess what? When you on stage, it's just you, that mic, and these people. And a lot of these skits that people do, again, no disrespect, they do out there, doesn't translate to being funny, because I will leave a few of these comedians they do the skits, they're not funny. One of the comedians told me, please, let me go before you, because I'm a genuine comedian. You're getting paid top dollar to do this, and they're coming to they pay their money to come see you, and I'm just opening it up for you, but yet and still I'm funny, and now you want me to go last, but you still keep the money. No, they pay to see you. Guess what? You're gonna do it. I'm sorry. And I go out there, and this is one of the few times you'll hear me curse. I go out there and kick your ass. And he got up there and he was not funny. He was telling effing knock-knock jokes. Are you kidding me? You getting all this money, they paying you, and you telling me that you telling knock-knock jokes? Come on, man. Let me tell you something. Bust your head out, swap, oh Lord. So this industry we live in is real fickle. Seem like black people have a more rougher time than white people when it comes to this comedy. But things are so difficult now. Well, let me say this: things was more difficult back then than it is now, because what the Richard Pryors, the Red Fox, and these folks that paved the way, and the Eddie Murphys, they opened up the door for us to be able to come in and make it much easier for us. Because back then, if you go through the history of comedy, black people just did certain venues they were only allowed. But then you see the white comedians putting the black tar stuff on their face, trying to mimic a black person, and he's making money. So you can't be us, so you want to paint your face like us and make the money. So when you look at Jamie Foxx, and Jamie changed his name so he can get called first. But Jamie switched up the game. Jamie Foxx switched up the game. He could sing. And by him being able to sing, boy, if I could sing, oh my God. Yeah, so Jamie could sing, and by him, them different talents that we have as African Americans, it's like, wow, we have to do above and beyond just to try to compete with some of the Caucasian comics. Look at Jerry Seinfeld. He never had that, look at him. He didn't have any black people on his show. Look at Cheers. These are all comedians that's doing it, white comedians, and they had no black people on none of them shows. Look at your history, look at it. But with Bernie Mac and Chris Tucker, and you look at Jamie Foxx, when Jamie Foxx did his show, every black show always had a white person in. I'm not trying to be controversial or nothing, I'm just stating facts. And as a comedian, I read a lot. I look at a lot of TV. My wife hates that part about it, but when I mimic something that she see, then she go, oh, I see, I get it. But we have to do things much more, it's much more harder for us, as African Americans to do things compared to, these Caucasian folks. And it's not fair. But we making a name for ourselves, and I think we done well for ourselves, and it's getting better. So it's take a comedian like myself to do this platform here to try to pave a way for somebody younger than me to help them. Because what I do is I give back, because that's what I'm supposed to do as a big brother. And locally here, I'm known as Uncle Mo, because all the comedians call me Unc, male and female. Well, a lot of the comedy places I've been to the Improvs, I've been to the Punchlines, Laugh Factory, the Comedy Store. Man, I've been all over the world doing comedy, going to these places. These are the type of venues that a lot of black comedians have to get a certain stature to get to. And a lot of comedians have never experienced that experience that I experienced through Earthquake, because I was able to do it. Wow. I performed at the Paramount Theater. That was a highlight. I performed at the NBA Basketball Association in Aruba. This some of the things I got a chance to do as a comedian. And as a comedian, to be able to do that type of stuff is epic for me.
I toured with Earthquake for about 6.5, 7 years straight. And out of 52 weeks of the year, I would say roughly 48, 50 weeks, weekends that we worked and going from city to city, town to town. And we even did the show for the NBA Association. and in the Bahamas, and wow, it was amazing. During my time on the road with Earthquake, it was a lot of fun times, but it was a lot of heartaches because having 2 young kids and a real job, I was gone. I missed a lot of softball games, I missed basketball games, and I missed my kids growing up. But that's some of the sacrifices you do to try to make your dreams come true. And that's one of the things I stood by. And do I regret it? I don't regret it, but I don't feel so good that I missed a lot of your kids growing up. When your kids is growing up and you out there on the road trying to make a name for yourself and try to follow your dream, these are some of the sacrifices that a lot of us comedians make.
Honey,
Yes.
do me a favor before we wrap up. Could you take a picture of me while I'm sitting here? Because I got to put this on my social media.